This is Art Kurth, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Kurth.
Kurth, yes.
Former Cavalier marching member.
Former Cavalier marching member.
And every other corps that's ever existed, you've had some time with them.
I think we counted it up. There was about 21 or 22 of them, yeah.
You started out in the Ardennes Windy City Cadets. Is that where you started?
Well, it was the Ardennes Post 895 Belgium American Legion Drum and Bugle Corps, sir.
I see.
Yeah, and then we changed it to the Windy City Cadets in 55, just because we went out to the national competition and all the East Coast corps were cadets. And we said, cool, that's what you need to win. So we immediately changed the name.
Cadets, I
Yeah,
love it.
it had been the Ardennes for 40 years, but, it was just...
Windy City Cadets. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did it help?
We designed a real nice jacket.
Did you win the championships?
No, but we did take high horns at the Moments Gladiola Festival Parade once.
You are one of the few people that has a personal experience of the famous 1957 Cavalier St. Vincent scuffle.
Yeah.
That occurred at Flamingo Park?
Flamingo Park, yes.
In Miami?
In Miami Beach.
I had almost forgotten about St. Vincent's until Art mentioned it, and of course they were our major competitor on the national scene.
Right.
In 57,
57.
When we won our first national title.
When we arrived at the hotel, which seems to me now was the Clevelander. Why, I don't know.
Okay.
And it had this big patio front porch, and there were some kind of unhappy looking thug types sitting around out there. And I said, gee, I wonder what this is. And we got off, and one of the people in the corps came up to me and said, you don't know me. If anybody asks about me, I didn't make the trip. And
One of the people, like Pagari, perhaps?
well, I don't want to mention any names,
No names,
but
yeah,
yeah,
okay.
he went by the pseudonym of Buns. And it seems that we had a little bunch of our fellas that over the last year had been sending audio tapes out to the people in Vincent's that were...
Kind of a friendly communication thing?
They were kind of ridiculing them as people and as drum corps, I guess. I never really heard the tapes, but evidently it got the effect they wanted because these guys were mad.
I've been told that this may have been festered from something that sprung from our Sunday evening clubs and some video or audio tapes that were sent.
Well, we used to get together on Sunday evening
Record some things.
and just have a good time.
And
Sometimes
send
we'd
some
play
tapes
cards,
off.
And we would send tapes off. And there
And-
was somebody that would make some kind of...
I even heard that you might have had some part in the actual
I don't
recording.
know. I
of-
was known to have a quick tongue,
Some
yes.
kind of New Jersey accent.
Yeah,
or
right.
something.
Not a very good one. That maybe, and I know later on they did. I think they were looking for me later on, and I said, "Well, I think he's down there." You know. But it was all in good, clean fun. But I guess you got to have a sense of humor.
Well, so when we finally beat them, and
I never made that connection because I thought that was a really resulting from the loss and the lack of respect for the Midwest. That was probably the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
To think that they were beat by someone other than their own, if you will. I think that's my interpretation. Not they were looking for some smart mouth kid by the name of Heitzman. That was making fun on some tapes. I would hope not.
There was a timing thing, and I'm not sure whether we were on the field for the fully allotted time or not, but the judges said we were, and we were declared the champions, but there was a great deal of controversy about it.
Oh, it was a fight.
Yeah, it was
No controversy.
as a matter of fact, I was standing up there collecting trophies and accepting applause and all, and my corps was back there getting beat up.
Here's
field.
the competition field,
Yeah.
the stands,
Yeah.
the buses were parked in this end zone here,
Right.
facing the field.
Okay.
We were loading the buses and the
Yeah, we
drums.
weren't in uniform. We were,
You know,
to my knowledge,
taking the shirts off and loading the bus. So it wasn't like everyone was there from the Corps just after a parade or something, just
Right.
in one cluster.
And
We'd had some rain or something, and
we had rain
Corps were
off
not-
and on during the contest. They wanted to get it over with real quick before the rain came back. So they had the drum majors who were all standing out here. And there was a beautiful young lady from Boston who had caught my eye, and I was talking to her.
Young lady.
Young lady, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
And they announced us in first place.
Uh-huh.
And everybody jumped up and down and yelled, yay, 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 yay. Wonderful. We were all excited.
All the action is like out here, focused on the center stage,
Yeah, but we're all back here.
and all the individuals from the
Right.
corps are mulling.
And at that time, there was a whole bunch of guys from Vinny's came running across the field this way. Then I thought, since they were my buddies, they were coming over to congratulate us.
Because you'd met some of them.
That's right, kind of leaping over the net to say nice game.
Ah.
And I'm standing there, and these guys come running up to me, and I'm, wham! I'm down on the ground wondering what hit me and why. This young lady from Boston is screaming with her Boston accent. And I said, what in the world? So I got up, and some guy hit me again. And I said, we must be in a fight.
I was up next to a bus loading stuff in or something like that, and I was one of the older guys and was being responsible, I suppose. And I heard about the fight. Guys came running back saying, fight, fight, fight.
Got up, and we were all fighting. A bunch of the guys, we had a lot of younger guys, ran and jumped on the bus. And some of their guys came over and started breaking the windows out of the bus. And I'm kind of out there alone at that point, surrounded. I felt alone anyway, surrounded by all these guys from Vinny's. Well, Father Wajika, and which after 40 years, it's still a discussion as to how to pronounce his name, whether it's Wadika or Wajika or what.
Yeah.
And Mickey Patrone were there, rooting on their kids.
Yeah, I guess that was the part that was the question mark, is like, why did they not make some attempt to stop it?
Somebody, I kind of thought they would, being adults. See, I had this concept of adults
Adults,
not doing things like that.
Right.
But somebody told me that out on the East Coast, it was kind of a common occurrence for drum corps to have fights.
I guess.
They were like street gangs, I guess.
I mean, the story about St. Vinny's is they used to carry a medal, a St. Jude's medal in their left hand when they swung their arm.
Really?
But it was more a thing of toughness than it was of religion.
Uh-huh.
These guys were tough.
And then all of a sudden, the Commodore showed up.
John Kabansky.
Kabansky, right.
The Commodore.
With his big mouthpiece in his hand, and he's thumping on people's heads.
Really?
Yeah. So we got back to back, and we were fighting there. And then we were getting our butts beat.
it became a free-for-all, is what it amounted to be.
Yeah.
Literally a brawl that was egged on by a beautiful group of young ladies called the Audubon.
They were involved too?
Well,
Tough as nails, those young ladies were.
Don, let me tell you how tough as nails they were, as you all of us did at the time. Before the show, we'd always see if we could find some young ladies that would be interested in getting to know the Cavaliers. Mm-hmm. And I recall meeting a young lady from Audubon at the time, and we had planned to do something after the contest, to go out and have a Coke or something. And after we won, and after the fight was over, I ran into this young lady and she spit at me. And I said, well, maybe it's a good thing when nothing materialized.
We were all rolling around and punching and thumping and thugging, and we were still getting our butts beat. And all of a sudden, this whole bunch of guys in red shirts came running across the field, and it was the Archer Epler Musketeers. And I said, good.
Senior Corps.
Oh, Senior Corps. I said, adults are coming to bring this thing to some kind of a reasonable conclusion. And come on. Well, the first guy up there hits me. They're kind of alumni of Vinny's. And so they were coming over to make sure that Vinny's maintained the upper hand, which they had to begin with.
It was kind of like a madhouse. The nights were, of course, all the Midwestern Corps were trying to support us, and all the Eastern Corps were supporting St. Vincent's.
It was kind of like the Civil War, except it was the East against the Midwest,
So, I mean, the fight is going badly. At least in the section I was at. I mean, we were kind of.
Because all the Cavaliers are on the bus except for a few of you.
I was on the bus. I thought, no, I mean, and I was, you know.
You were always a smart guy.
I was. I always prided myself on knowing when to get out of the skirmish.
I was on the bus at the time it happened, so like Don, we watched this thing out of the window.
I grabbed a pike, the steel flagpoles that were used in those days, and I was heading out, and some staff member or somebody just literally threw me onto a bus. I was going up the side of the bus on the right-hand side, and the door was open, and I had the pike in my hand, and whoever it was, I don't remember anymore, stopped me, and just in essence said, "Get on the bus. Give me that and get on the bus and don't come off."
The rest of them were up on the bus with the flagpole. And when they get close to the bus, they come out the window of the bus and bonk, and off they go.
So what was the story about Millie?
Well, she was defending herself and the buses with an umbrella, and in the course of the fight, we had to take her to the hospital. She broke her little finger.
The way it looked to me, it was just the Commodore and I against the world.
Is that right?
And we're wailing away. I thought we were doing fairly good. But when the sea of red shirts came from Archie, I said, "Oh man!" And then we were still on our feet though, and all of a sudden I see this sea of green shirts coming across the field, and it's the Riley Raiders. And I said, "Oh Lord, man, all is lost." If I had a pistol with a silver bullet, I'd pull it out now and blow my brains out. And they came in wailing on Archie.
Oh.
Because I guess there was some conflict with them, and we had lent them our drums because we had the new plastic heads, and their hide heads were ruined in the rain before they went on.
So they got to use the drums in their final
Yes,
presentation.
and they did win.
Yes.
But they were vicious. There were people hitting each other in the head with gun butts. And something they don't use in drum corps now are guidons, which is a pole with a spike on the end of it and a little
Yes.
tiny flag.
Yes.
They're coming in like Sir Lancelot. And then one of the guys from Norwood came in, Nick Graves, present mayor of Harvey, he came in, and the two of us were handling it pretty well, and then the Greater Miami Police Department showed up. Both of these guys, one squad car, came up, and they jumped out of the car, and they came running towards us. And the guy came up to me and started screaming something that we're all under arrest. That was it. And I said, "Well, fine, get me out of here. You know, I'm getting beat up bad.
Yeah,
you know,
that'll be better than this.
Little blood here, little blood there. I don't need this. I got to go home and tell my mother what happened." And so he pins my arms behind me. And when he did that, this guy from Vinny's comes over and starts using me like a punching bag.
Really?
But it turned out all right because Nick came in again. He saved me there, and I gave the cop an elbow under the chin, and he just, I don't know where he went.
And we always like to forget it, but we'll never forget the fact that we, as Don says, we weren't allowed to enjoy the victory itself. But the thing I sticks in my mind also, the next year, if you recall, we placed second to Blessed Sacrament at the convention. And being the good sports we were, after they announced us in second place in Blessed Sacrament and first, some of us went over to shake hands with the men from Blessed Sacrament, and they thought we were coming over to do battle because of the experience of the year before. And of course, that certainly wasn't the intent. We were a very honorable group.
And I don't remember what brought it to a conclusion. It just finally died down.
Wow.
And everybody was running around going, "Hey, cool, look, I've been stabbed." And there were people that were hurt, and there were people that were taken to the hospital, and I saved my core jacket where somebody slashed me, and I got this big gaping hole in my core jacket.
Does it have like stitch marks on it now that you can?
Mom sewed it.
You can see the wound.
Yeah. There used to be a little blood on it, but she went and had it cleaned. I can't believe she'd do that, but.
Well, this is incredible. This has got to be a highlight. 41 years later, and we're telling this story on camera.
We didn't have any cameras back then. Somebody would have had to sketch it.
What sort of a day was it? It was a day like all other days, filled with events that alter and illuminate our times. And you were there.
Whoa.
Hi, all you green people.